Who's idea was to get to the bathroom? Oh, I know. And I go, hey, good morning. I said, we're working for the Adjournment. There's no access to the bathroom. We were going to put a toll booth in.
That is interesting. Maybe our next new City Hall building will have bathroom.
Oh, there you go.
Enjoy at the police shield. Right, Mr. Mayor? I was telling Councilmember Ober, and I said, when you call the house and the kids around, I go, yes, Mr. Mayor, so we get so impressed that the mayor calls me that. Yeah, a few times.
He never calls.
Well, I'm not telling you what he calls me. We did. My phone's open between 4 a.m. and midnight. So. I send him. I kid you not. 7 o'clock, you get all these people to get on this, and I got emails already plastered on their inboxes. I was always taught to paint a picture when writing the story. So, you should see my stories when I had to go to court. They're always... You can't handle the truth. Thursday. Oh. Oh, we are. Okay. Well, I guess the Thursday I'm going to be probably late. You guys going to tell me on Thursday? Do we have a call? Because we're making up a but I had a higher appointment in the city.
No, she's good. She's a nice to you now. But it was hard yeah, I think, you know, they call
Something about Friday.
Yeah.
That's like bad, not Chihuahua.
That's on my That's right.
I'm
Okay, I'm ready. Josh, you good? We'll call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting. Can we begin with roll call, please?
Councilmember Allison.
Here.
Seeley.
Here.
Connell.
Here.
Schemmers.
Here.
Oberon.
Here.
Mussman.
Here.
Kearns.
Here. Thank you. We'll move on to our first item, and that's the IHAP discussion. We have Kevin Andersen on the line from the Iowa DNR, and then Mr. Devers here as well.
And Mr. Thompson.
And Mr. Thompson
Mr.
has
DeLacy.
some comments, and we'll open it up for discussion after we. Are we going to kick it off with
Yep, I'll
Mr.
kick it off
Andersen?
here. Oh, I'll just kick it off for
Okay.
the group here is, so going off the council report that you guys can read, but I'll just give some highlights. So basically, as we look at the Devers, they're looking at, did I say that right? Devers? Devers has several parcels of agricultural land west of Mill Creek. He's approached the Iowa Department of Natural Resources to enroll in a large portion of the property in IHAP, which just want to do this real quick for folks. So we had to do some research. So the area we're talking about is west of Mill Creek. So this is Mill Creek along this avenue here. And we're talking about right here, this part right
Well,
here.
it's more than just that. There's-
Gotcha.
Yep,
All the yellow on this side, Yep, west side of the road.
the 84 acres.
Here, this is the part
There
I
you
was
go.
like, there you go. So
That's
basically,
Second Avenue South there where your pointer is.
you betcha. Second Avenue South coming down through here. I was looking at this, it's hard to read down here, but the yellow areas are actually where they're the habitat piece, which I wanted to get
So that's
to.
actually the ag land that's, it's farmable property that will fall within, that.
The program.
you know.
Gotcha.
Well, actually, the timberlands can too. That can be hunted as well. You're looking at the yellow outline is actually the ag ground that will be in the CRP.
Gotcha. And then basically, we're talking about the Iowa Habitat and Access Program. What we want to do is just kind of open up, start with Kevin, our guest from DNR, just to kind of give us a rundown. He's the resident pro, I guess, not from Dover, but are you from Des Moines? I didn't even ask you that.
I'm from Fairfield down here in southeast.
Oh, very nice.
And yeah, and Clinton is one of the counties that I cover. I cover 24 counties basically in greater southeast Iowa. So Clinton is my furthest northeast. So I got approached by Dennis and his wife and came out and looked at the site, and we're at where we're at right now. So I'm just ready to take questions from you folks.
Gotcha. So going back up here. And just a clarification for the council members. So part of this is basically for this program here is the hunting would be available between September 1st and May 31st of each year. Participating in the IHAP program does not require city council's approval. However, any IHAP parcels that lie within the city limits would be subject to any existing city code requirements. The city zoning does not preclude hunting. Rather, the city's firearms ordinance outlines the area in which firearms may be discharged. The city's firearm ordinance can be found in Chapter 135. Pursuant to Chapter 135, firearms can be discharged west of Mill Creek Parkway so long as said discharge does not occur within 200 yards of an occupied dwelling place. The IHAP also prohibits the discharge of a firearm within a 20-yard buffer around... Oh, sorry. What did I say?
200. You said 20.
20. 200. I'm back in the military, sorry. 200-yard buffer around occupied dwellings. As there are currently no IHAP areas in the city of Clinton, it was requested that Mr. Devers in the Iowa DNR, Devers, discuss the program with the council in order for the mayor, the council, and residents to have more information on the program. So if the council wishes to prohibit the discharging of weapons west of Mill Creek or more than 200 yards from an occupied dwelling, the council would need to explore revising the boundaries and/or restrictions found in the firearms. So I think at that point, Mr. Mayor, I would ask if we would open up for maybe we start out with the folks that are closest to the podium, just to kind of give background, and then we have some other folks that live in that area as well, and I will keep them updated by using the handy-dandy map.
All right. So come on up to the mic and just state your name and your address for the record, please.
Dennis Dever. We live at 33715 Preston, Iowa, and that is in Jackson County. We own some ground in Clinton County.
Okay.
We were looking to open this up a little bit to, more of a public hunt, because we have several people that hunt that ground now with or without permission. And we would be getting some help from the DNR to control that.
Gotcha.
So I guess I'm on the deer management committee. This came as an email from Lisa to myself, because I think there's really nobody else on that committee.
Except I was on it, we never had a meeting.
Except for I think somebody from the Parks Department that kind of does some liaison work. So that came across us when initially they had looked at the east side of Mill Creek.
Well, we looked at the whole thing.
The whole lot, yeah.
And I just asked if we could get a variance to the ordinance with the 200 yards in mind. That's an Iowa law anyway. It doesn't matter, in or out of the city limits. And I didn't expect the inside to get accepted, but you don't know if you don't ask, right? So,
So at that time, we kind of kicked back with legal discussions, went back and forth, and decided that our boundaries are Mill Creek. To the west is okay, to the east is not. We currently have hunting on the west side of Mill Creek. So it made sense to say no to the inside, east side of Mill Creek, and to go ahead and enroll in the program to the west side of Mill Creek. So I guess the gentleman.
I have a question. So our ordinance currently allows for hunting west of Mill Creek, and you can't discharge a firearm within 200 yards. So what they want to do is within our current ordinances, right?
Correct.
100%? Okay.
Yes.
The west side, but not the east side, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but I don't think they're even asking for the east
we're
side.
not asking for the east side. We've already discussed that, and we're good with that. And I mean, I understand but I was just asking to see if we could, and the answer was no, and we're fine with that.
Can I get something for clarification? So the yellow lines, we're not talking the yellow lines by itself. We're also,
Inside of the yellow lines is the crop acre. That's the ag land that's farmed right now. That will be going into CRP.
okay.
It's already signed up and been accepted. So the black outline is really the whole area.
That you're trying to get all in.
That will all be in the IHAP.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could still hunt, within 200 yards of the bow and arrow, right? I mean, you're doing that now. Just to be clear, that whole thing, and there'll be signage around the outside border of it. And we've asked for extra signage about the 200-yard limitation as well, although that's supposed to be known. I mean, you've got to know the law, right? So if you're a hunter, you should know what those limits are.
So I think one of the issues, and I think that way we have some folks here tonight, was the subdivision that is located up the hill there. There's maybe a building within, I don't know how many yards it is of the property line, but if you look at that, there was maybe concern along that western edge where Matt's pointer is. Well, if you discharge a firearm within 200 yards of that building, you're in violation of state law.
So what you're probably looking at, I took a compass and marked it out, and you're probably talking about almost down to where that line, that finger starts. So it's just a little bit above that, somewhere in about that area. That would be approximately where that 200-yard mark would be.
From the building?
No, well, yeah, from the building. So it's an arc. It's a 200-yard arc from any point of that building.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong, Kevin can jump in any time. But I don't think anything above that, going to 2nd Avenue South, all the way down to the bottom of that hill. Yeah, down, yep, right in that area. That's an approximate area where that 200 yards will come.
And I guess that's what I'm trying to clarify. So up above where the arrow is now would not be part of...
No, that would be part of the IHAP.
But it wouldn't be part of the hunting part.
It wouldn't be part of a shotgun or any firearm. So it's no different than, it's the law right now. Anybody, whether it's in the IHAP or not.
I'm not arguing with that. I'm trying to get clarification here because there's a lot of lines and I'm trying to learn this
Yeah, no,
right here.
So, and I'm just trying to point that out. I mean, whether it's in the IHAP or not, anybody can still hunt any of that property, but can't discharge a firearm within 200 yards of any building. That really has nothing to do with the IHAP.
So
It doesn't
basically,
change anything with any of the law, existing laws now. So, I mean, if you wanted to go up in that north timber and anywhere in that north timber at the top of that finger, close to 2nd Avenue South, you could still bow hunt in there.
We can bow hunt east of Mill Creek, right? Yeah.
with your city permit.
So if this is entered into the IHAP program, how long is that for?
I think we signed up for 9 years.
9 years. Okay.
It's a 2-year contract, but since we will not sign it until the hunting season of fall of 21, it will actually be 9 years.
Okay.
And just to clarify on the map, not to muddy the waters, but that black outline is the outline of the actual IHAP property that Dennis and Sue Ellen wanted to put in. All the yellow line is, like Dennis said, he said it very well, it's just prop. But that yellow line came from my ARC map on my DNR computer. That's just designating CRP boundaries.
So what kind of signage is installed and where would it be? I mean, is it in the hunting area or the IHAP area? I mean, or is it both?
I'm going to let Kevin answer that.
It's basically, we go every 1/8 of a mile, and they're kind of a tan or orange sign. There's so many different signs with public areas in Iowa that we went with this tan or orange sign. That basically says this is the IHAP boundary, do not trespass. We do that every 1/8 of a mile. Every corner gets 2 signs. So up on the north part, you'd have 4 signs up there. On every corner down through the property, we'd have 2 signs on each boundary corner. Up around those houses, basically that house right there that you're pointing at, correct? That's the only house within the 200 yards. Basically what I do is I have a program on my ARC map, and I can center that in the center of that person's dwelling. And then I just take, like Dennis said, I just take an arc out and go 200 yards. And it basically comes down to those first corners in that long, I kind of call it the tip of Idaho. Basically in those 2 corners is where it ends. And we just draw a circle around it. And what we'll do, like Dennis said, we will come out probably sometime in July when we get our sign order, when it's 110 degrees and the humidity is really high. We'll go out and post the boundaries. We do it on all of our IHAP properties by state law. And we will come out, and anywhere we have houses within that 200 yards or an occupied dwelling or an occupied, cattle yard or hog building, we come out and we post extra signs, just so folks know. Like Dennis said, anyone that hunts, and I'm a hunter, it's up to me to know the laws and the rules and the ordinances of the game that you're pursuing. So basically, we will put extra signs up around that dwelling. We'll probably put extra signs on each corner and along that western and eastern boundary.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is the outer area off of Mill Creek fenced?
Excuse me, what was the question again?
Is it where Mill Creek is this where the area is in black on the outer perimeter nearing Mill Creek?
Well, so that
fenced?
line along the road is, the fence isn't right there, it's down farther, more on that yellow line.
That's kind of right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll see that's right away.
I was just
There are
curious.
portions where the fence has been removed, not by us, but I mean, from other people. There's some areas where you can see the fence posts and the fences are pulled down and.
If you think about it, when you're driving there, usually this land is much lower, right, than Mill Creek. It goes down quickly into kind of a valley, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But, so then the only other portion would be where you don't see at the bottom of that map, where you don't see that yellow line connecting. That is a dividing line between those 2 fields. But there's no fence there.
Okay.
But that will be marked out.
Thank you.
So I'm not a hunter, so I might sound off here, but is there restrictions on the type of hunting or the game you can hunt here, or what type of weapons are allowed on this? Is there restrictions, or is it kind of open for whatever season you're in?
Kevin, do you want to take that?
Yes.
You can probably answer that better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it basically, how our IHAP grant reads is any season that's open, whether it's dove or squirrel or deer, and whatever manner of take, weapon that a person chooses to use, as long as it's legal, then they can use that IHAP property for those species and those weapons, so.
Thank you.
So right now, I mean, just to clarify, people are hunting that right now, and it's not enrolled in a program, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So really, it's no different. It's just opening up to public hunting through a conservation program.
I guess I'm confused as to why he couldn't have just done this and not even asked us.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a formality courtesy thing.
Yeah. But otherwise, he technically could have. Right?
Doesn't need our approval, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got one more question. What would happen if we saw westward expansion in property surrounding that area and new houses or businesses or something came up there? Does that then limit?
200 yards.
Okay. So even if this is enrolled in the program, if someone built a house right on that bottom line, it's 200 yards, period.
I can bet you what would happen. There would probably be a for sale sign in that property, and it would probably be a heck of a lot more lucrative than the state program.
I'm just,
if we're going to grow that much, I guarantee you.
I'm hoping, I'm hoping big things are on the horizon, man.
I'm just guessing.
I'm hoping, yeah.
Grow Clinton, right? That's what we were saying.
Will you be marketing this as a hunting area?
Kevin, you want to take that? She's asking.
Basically what happens is I provide our GIS specialist in Des Moines. This has already been accepted, and her name's Monica Thielen, and she will ask all the biologists and technicians that have currently enrolled, new enrolled IHAP sites, and that will go into our webpage, our DNR webpage on the Wildlife Bureau side, so the public will know it's there. The public figures these out very quickly. Once they know it's a place open for the public to hunt on private lands, word travels very fast, and hopefully brings some folks to your part of the world, and they enjoy using Sue Ellen and Dennis's property.
That's why I asked, because I know there's a lot of hunting areas in Iowa that are marketed in Wisconsin.
Oh, no, we won't be doing that, I don't believe.
He might be, though.
So one concern I would have is there a place off of 2nd Avenue for these people to park? Because we wouldn't want them coming in off of Mill Creek, I wouldn't think, into like just answer the first part of that.
No, there's not an existing spot right now off of 2nd Avenue South, although that property borders it. Right now, there are access points on this property that are, there's been large farm equipment in and out of there, and I would say if you've seen 2 cars in there, I don't know why you'd want to stop there and hunt it. But
I think they get an ATV permit through the city, and then they drive.
Yeah, there you go.
Put an ATV rental across the street?
they won't have access to drive into the property.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, they'll have access to walk through, so it's safe instead of crossing a fence or something. So you don't have a accidental discharge.
Right.
So we will leave access for them to walk in, but they're not going to have access to drive in.
So then, do we have no parking signs on Mill Creek? Because if we don't, I think that they should be put there. Because I don't really think we should allow people to park as many, if that's our unsafe zone.
Well, as you know, too, as Councilmember Seeley pointed out, this drops down, but there's also, all along Mill Creek, there's drives that have been produced with their gates. I think you have a gate or 2 that are on there. And so there's spots that they can pull in and they can park there.
As long as it's not up top.
Yeah, they could also, this is city property, the old landfill. They could park in there if they wanted to. That's not a big issue there.
As long as it's unlocked.
Yeah, well, yeah, if it's unlocked.
Okay.
But I see your point, though. It's like we don't just parking on the side of the road. So,
I've one last question. There's no ordinance or law restricting the discharge of a firearm close to a road, like Mill Creek?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
There is?
Yeah, yeah.
So how far from that?
Kevin probably tell you, Eric.
I'm not a law enforcement officer, I'm a wildlife biologist, but I'll take a stab at it. I don't think you could discharge any firearms across a public roadway in Iowa.
No, I mean with like there's the 200 yards from an occupied dwelling. There's not a certain amount of distance you have to be away from Mill Creek to discharge a weapon.
No.
They can't fire anything across the road, and they can't stand on the road and discharge it.
Yep.
Right.
But if you're firing towards the road and you miss, I don't know. I'm just looking at the safety for the citizens along here, because that would be a concern of mine if you're close to Mill Creek and you're discharging a weapon and there's a car driving down the road. I know it's a fluke thing, but
that's no different than them hunting out there the fields on 30.
They're currently
I'm
being
just-
hunted. There's a property just north of 2nd Avenue that's currently being hunted with shotgun right now, and the same rules apply.
So did you just pull it up?
The property just north? No, this is a different one.
I just, like I said, I'm not a hunter. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it.
Place
Yeah.
where they bring
Scott,
people
I get what you're saying on that too, but like
Yeah.
I will say,
Big bucks for it.
I'm a hunter. Most hunters, through hunter education courses that they do, and they
Yeah.
know how to hunt a piece of ground. They usually don't just walk on and go, I'm going to hunt this piece of ground. They study the layout of the ground. They know which way they want to hunt it and what the best way.
you got to
get-
look beyond the barrel.
Yeah.
Okay,
We put it that way.
fair enough. Like you said, I'm not well versed in this, so I was in the Air Force.
I just say from Army standpoint, we wouldn't miss.
Yeah,
You've got a comrade over
we
here.
hunt with larger bombs.
You said it's being hunted at present. I mean, has there been any complaints?
Not to us. I mean, usually when people don't have permission to hunt, they won't complain to the owners.
No, but I mean by
Neighbors?
people-
No,
the
I
neighbors
have not
surrounding
been, I have not been contacted in that regard.
Yes.
it. Yeah, because I wonder, I mean, 200 yards, that's a pretty good big distance, but the other thing is with the new modern weapons and ammunition, some of that can travel further than that.
So, if I may, I'll point this out. You cannot deer hunt with a rifle, right? So
Correct.
it's shotgun only.
Actually, that's not accurate.
It's not,
You know, you can shoot deer with a straight wall rifle cartridge, including, you can shoot any center fired straight walled, rifle cartridge having a diameter of 3.357 inches to 5 half an inch. So that would include 375 Winchester, the 444 Marlin, and the 4570 Government. And I have a lot of experience with those cartridges, and they do have a lot of downrange velocity. They aren't high-powered rifles, but they have a lot of downrange velocity. And I don't know if there's been any legislation or to discuss that, because basically what the legislature did for years, they allowed you to hunt with those cartridges. There was no change to the law regarding the 200-yard limit. And given that for example, the 4570 Government retains a great deal of downrange energy because it travels. Well, the 357 Winchester is the one I'm most familiar with, and it retains a great deal of downrange velocity. It'll track.
Can't hear.
I'm not saying that you necessarily should do anything for ordinance, but it's something to consider, given that we have these new loads that are allowed, and the landowner in this case isn't going to necessarily know who's going to show up or what they're going to be hunting with when they show up. So you just got to bear that in mind, that those houses are not within 200 yards, most of them, but some of them are within 300 yards.
we don't know now.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I could show you tree stands right now that are up right now. We don't know whose they are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
On both sides of the
more
road.
a question of, you just need to be aware of what you're doing, because you're going into you're putting public hunting ground within the city limits where there are some residential dwellings around, but I think the council's correct, Councilmember Thomas is correct, that this is already occurring, so it's not like, it's not like it's all that unusual.
Yeah. If anything, it's probably end up more safe there with markings.
I would think that would be.
Do we have anybody that lives out there that like to say?
I do think let's
Hey, Pat,
open it up.
I told Matt that leave it to the Marine to figure that out.
Yeah.
All the cartridges.
That's way above your thought process there, Marine.
Well, I know even compound bowls these days, they travel a heck of a lot farther than they used to.
I don't know if it's about
My name is Matt Thompson. I live at 2505 2nd Avenue South. I own a piece of property that borders this parcel of land in this discussion.
Hey, Matt, where are you at here on this map here?
So basically,
Right there.
my house.
Move my mouse for you.
Does he own all
No, go ahead, you can control the mouse.
Your mouse is, Matt.
this? Does he
Yeah.
own this?
So my
You're-
house sits right here.
Gotcha.
But my property actually comes and encompasses this all the way down to here and borders all the way along here.
Gotcha.
So I would first like to say that I believe in hunting, and I would like to see landowners inside the city limits that can hunt legally on their property continue to be able to do so. While I believe in hunting in a safe manner, the issue I have with this proposal is turning private ground into public land. Once land goes from a private entity, which would be a smaller group of people, to a public area, generally a larger group of people, the risk factors go up. When the land is private, the landowner has the control and the names of the people allowed to hunt. If this becomes public, anyone with a hunting license can hunt. It then becomes a job of an already stretched thin, single-man county DNR officer to patrol that area. One man for an entire county. While most people follow the rules, not everyone does. The potential for trespassing, discharging a firearm in an unsafe manner, off-target injury, and property damage are real possibilities when privately owned ground becomes available to the public. While I think the IHAP program is a good program, I don't believe it belongs on this approximately 50, 60 acres bordered by a major road in close proximity to houses. In my opinion, there is only one safe direction to discharge a firearm on this piece of property that does not have a great potential for off-target injury. That is due west. Will everyone that would have the ability to hunt this ground do that? I'm betting not. My reservation comes from the possibilities of the downsides. I don't think the upsides of this program, I don't see the upsides of this program on this parcel. I think it would be negligent to think anybody that none of the downsides, trespassing, off-target injury to people and property can't happen. Once again, I don't want to ruin hunting for other property owners inside the city limits that can legally do so. I just don't think this program that allows the public with a hunting license to hunt this small parcel bordered by houses, barely outside the 200-yard distance and bordered by a major road. If there's an upside, the downsides are far greater. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address?
Gary DeLacy, and I live out there on the Thompson Estates as well. My issues with the 200 yards. Given the weapons and that a bullet's not going to stop, a slug's not going to stop at 200 yards. I think my property is well within range if they shoot north. And I don't, maybe it's old language like they said with the 200 yards, but I think all the homes that are in that subdivision will be fair game if anyone shoots north. And I think if you get somebody that's excited and they see some game and they're going to shoot, they're not going to think about what direction am I shooting at that moment. And if you look at that, I agree. The only way you could truly shoot safe is west. If you shoot east, you're going over Mill Creek. You shoot south, you're going to go over Mill Creek. You shoot north, you're going right into the Thompson subdivision. The only way you can actually shoot is west. So, and again, I'm not against hunting or anything, but is that really a safe area?
Isn't there quite a elevation change from the Thompson subdivision to that valley down there where Thompson owns,
Well,
down toward the...
Some of that ground already goes up the hill, so it's going to be shooting straight across. There's a valley in between. But if you're hunting up on top, you're shooting straight across right at the same level.
So yeah, where your pointer is at right now, they can only shoot south, right? Because that property to the north is not theirs to be shooting on, correct? If people are hunting without trespassing, correct? So, you know, I would invite every one of you people to go out there and just look at the way the land lays and make a decision for yourself. And, you know, if I thought it was unsafe or anything that's going to happen unsafe compared to what's already happening, I mean, nobody's came forward and told us that, hey, you got somebody in here, do they have permission? You know, never heard anybody say that. I take it back. We have had one person say that, but they probably knew the other person wasn't supposed to be in there. But it's hard to control that as well, as y'all probably know.
So when an application like this goes into the state, and maybe this is for Kevin, does the people that review this application, do they look at the lay of the land as well and taking, you know, the approvals into consideration?
Yeah, we actually look at, there's very few sites in Iowa that don't have at least one or more houses or occupied dwellings or hog buildings or cattle sheds or whatever within the 200 yards. We actually have a site in Missouri Valley, Iowa that lays, part of that site lays within the city limits, and that site was approved. I don't know if there's been any issues, but I haven't heard of any. So yeah, there's a 6-person committee that I sit on with other staff, DNR staff, and we review each one of these. It's a ranking application. You know, not everybody gets in, but we basically look at, you know, where it lays, its assessed points based on size and whether it's in a water quality area, you know, what it would cost to plant the CRP, grass, whatever. But basically, there's very few sites that don't have occupied dwellings or highways or county roads or blacktops. So, yeah.
Thank you.
What's been your incident rate in areas like this that are in the program? Do you have, how many incidents of a year that you have for people that's been in the program? Has people been hurt? Somebody complain about shots in the side of a building, or?
Yeah, I wouldn't have that information. That would be more the law enforcement part of it. They patrol these sites. I haven't heard of any incidents. That doesn't mean there aren't any. That would be more of a law enforcement question. Sorry, I don't have the answer.
That's all right.
Any other comments on this?
It's my backyard. My backyard. But I'm in the city. It's all deer.
Can I just ask a question? So,
sure.
Cindy McLear, so I also have adjoining property close to the area. So obviously learning more about the program. But I guess my question...
Oh, you got to go to the mic.
Go to
the... Oh, sorry.
We're not as fancy as a school board.
Okay. You gotta be on the mic. Yeah, we get to carry one around. So. No, my question is, you know, just how is the area monitored and, you know, I know that it's DNR property, but just how often is it monitored, or if you can answer that?
Kevin?
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys want me to, it's actually, and I didn't correct anybody yet, it's actually not DNR property. It's actually still private property owned by Dennis and Sue Ellen. And we just have an agreement with them that we help them with, you know, doing the habitat work, and basically there's an incentive for them, dollars, you know, to help them get the habitat on the ground. And then they agreed to let it be hunted for 9 years. So basically, it would be our conservation officers, it would be a county or a deputy sheriff, it could be a city police. I mean, if someone has issues, they can call law enforcement. Most of the game wardens, if not all the game wardens, know right away. I haven't let the game wardens up there know yet that we've got this site in, because I wanted to come to this meeting and find out what you folks were going to say. So basically, yeah, those are the signs right there on the screen. So.
Yeah, and Kevin, we just wanted to pull this up just to show, because I'm kind of scratching my head, you know, as folks are going out there doing their hunting, is, you know, will this actually make it safer for the residents that are there? Because now there'll be signs that are marked they'll be checking in and out. I mean, I understand too, it's a value system and not everyone, not 100% follows it, but the most hunters that I know are actually do follow it if they're good true hunters. Just to bring up so the folks you guys could see this, but there'll be signs all posted around too. I'm not saying a sign would ever stop anything because we have signs for speed limits and people still speed, but it actually might be just another way to highlight these areas on there, and then and be cognizant of the neighbors there and continue to monitor with the neighbors if they start to see things that shouldn't be happening around their property.
Correct.
Right. Is there any other comments from council or from anybody that's here today?
So I just like to, can we make a clarification? I don't think that we don't need a
sorry.
resolution. I mean,
There's
there's no action needed, correct?
This is
It's
just
just
an
kind of a public
information.
forum to discuss?
The only action that you could take would be changing the ordinance for the
Of the
city.
firearm ordinance.
For the firearm
If it
ordinance.
wouldn't prohibit this from happening, we could only lengthen the requirement for
Correct.
shooting.
Correct.
Correct.
And there would still be areas you could shoot.
Correct.
Yeah.
Could we make a request maybe that some additional signing be put up along that northern border, maybe at closer intervals by chance, or if there was a cost for some of the extra signing that maybe that be taken into consideration?
Yeah, I've already asked our private lands coordinator in Des Moines. Dennis reached out to me and said, there were some concerned neighbors, so I already put in a request to do extra signing on that north narrow piece. And like I say, we go every quarter mile, or eighth of a mile, excuse me. So I would say that northern piece, that long rectangle shaped piece will have extra signs. So yeah, that's gonna happen.
Thank you.
How many people are allowed to hunt the ground currently? That you gave permission to people?
We have, and there's a lot more that don't have permission to hunt than there are that do.
Oh.
Right now, I can tell you 3 names.
Okay.
That have permission to hunt.
Okay. So realistically, you've only gave 3 people permission, and then yourself, obviously.
I don't hunt anymore.
Oh, okay.
My
All right.
arthritis doesn't like to do that.
Okay.
What's hunting season?
Which one?
Yes,
Yeah,
there's
all
several.
different
So we have,
seasons.
our both season opens up in, October? And then we've got our shotgun seasons, first and second, or like the first or second week of December, and then staggered about 7 days or so after that is second season. Then there's muzzle
Is there a
loader.
time when there's no hunting going on?
It usually ends in early January.
Yeah. Well, the June
With
1st,
muzzle loader, right?
June 1st to August 30th, there wouldn't be anything. Based on this, the public hunting would be available between September 1st and May 31st. We did it for Superintendent DeLacy because that's when he's in school. Just kidding.
But then, like I said, there's, dove and you name it, pheasant, rabbit, squirrel.
Bless you.
The Iowa DNR has a really nice mobile app if you're so inclined. It's pretty nice. Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? Any other questions? Clarifications? Nope. Any motions? Nope.
Don't need one.
Okay.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you
thank you,
joining us
Kevin.
from Fairfield.
Fairfield.
Awesome. Take care, sir. Hope to see you up here in the future.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, the FOURGE update. Jessica and Christine, are you online?
Yeah, we are. I will be talking about everything in
Somebody's got to be.
Is that my kid?
That was probably confused.
Oh.
It's my son. Okay, so to kind of go through this, my name is Jessica, and I am the social media account manager for the Choose Clinton, Iowa social media accounts. I work at FOURGE Social, which is headquartered out of Dubuque, Iowa, and have been working with Lisa, Frederick, and Matt Brooke since we started the page back in January of 2019. So to kind of give you a brief overview, if you're not familiar with FOURGE, we're a social media marketing agency in Dubuque, like I mentioned, and we've been managing the social media channels, which include Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we created all of those accounts back in 2019. And we worked closely with Matt and Lisa in the city to update everyone with different events and things happening around the city of Clinton on all the social media channels. And so I'm going to give you kind of a peek at what 2020 looked like. So as you can see here, the social platforms we manage are Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have just under 3,000 followers on Facebook, 165 followers on Twitter, and 438 followers on Instagram.
And Jessica, this is Matt. If you could mention too, because Twitter and Instagram were pretty much zero when we started. What was Facebook when we started? Do you recall?
I'm not sure.
I think it was 111. Yeah, it was very, very low. But sorry, go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's great that these accounts have grown so much over the past couple of years because we've also done this all organically, meaning that there hasn't been any ad dollars spent to gain any followers or any new views or anything like that on your social media. But yeah, we wanted to keep a consistent presence across many platforms, so we reach as many audience members as possible, since each platform does have different audience followers. On the next slide down, you'll kind of see a list of all the different content that we share across all platforms. Any of the press releases that come through are sent to me, and Lisa also forwards me on any information to post daily. So we're sharing those all on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram when it's appropriate. And then obviously 2020 was a big year for COVID-19 and sending up all those updates across the city for different businesses and just different updates on health regulations and things like that. 2020 was also a census and election year, so we pushed out all of the information for filling out your census and where you can go to vote in the election, and keeping everyone updated on anything that changed there. We also share a lot of local events and activities that are happening. Obviously in 2020, lots of things were rescheduled or postponed, so pushing that information out to make sure everyone was aware of the changing conditions and times was important across all the social platforms as well. And then things that we share on a weekly and monthly basis on all the platforms are information on the healthcare, education, parks and recreation, and then city meetings like this one. So we post about all the council meetings and the committee of whole meetings on our social platforms to remind community members to join. We also like to highlight a lot of shopping local and shopping small in Clinton, and highlighting different businesses around the area. We also want to make sure everyone is living, working, and playing in Clinton, so we're highlighting area attractions, different transportation needs. Some other things we touched on in 2020 were also the Housing 360 program and the City of Clinton Urban Revitalization Program. And then a quick overview of 2020 for Facebook. We ended the year with 2,736 fans, and 1.3 thousand of those were gained last year alone, so about half, which is awesome. Again, this was all organic growth, so we didn't use any extra ad dollars to promote anything to gain those new page likes and things like that. We also posted a total of 529 times, which gained 1 million page impressions. So that means 1 million times your Facebook page was shown to users on Facebook. And our post engagement rate was at 6.11% across the board, which may seem low to anyone outside of the marketing industry, but the average engagement rate on Facebook is 0.18%, so we were way above the average engagement rate. So that was fantastic to see the community being involved on the page, liking and commenting, stuff like that. And then the post reach on that was over 600,000, which means that all the posts, all the 529 posts were seen by users over 600,000 times. And then the next slide, you'll see just a small screenshot there of the top performing content on Facebook. So the top post there was commending the Public Works Department and their help with the cleanup in the Durrett Show. That happened back in August. And then the second one was when Clinton was awarded the REAP grant back in October for the dredging of the Emma Young Pond and rebuilding of the fishing pier. So that was very exciting news for Clinton and its residents.
Yeah.
And then the third post there was about how Farina is expanding and making a $140 million investment in Clinton, which created 60 new jobs. And then a quick overview on Twitter. You can see here we ended 2020 with 168 fans, and 91 of them were new fans in 2020, so that's good to see as well, the continued growth over the year. We tweeted a total of 381 times, which generated 409 engagements, 243 post likes, and 80 retweets. And then, same as Facebook, here's a couple screenshots of this top shared content on Twitter. The first one being supporting local businesses and shopping small in Clinton, Iowa. The second most shared content was the National EMS Week back in May. And then the third was congratulating the Parks and Rec Department, Engineering Department, and city elected officials on the Jurgensen soccer facility back in September.
I see the mayor right there.
Not tall enough to be seen.
Okay, and then last but not least, here on the side I have a breakdown of Instagram overview. So we ended 2020 with just under 400 fans. And we got 132 new fans in 2020, and we shared 302 posts with a total post engagement of 1.6 thousand. So post engagement, again, is meaning someone is viewing the photo, viewing a video, liking, commenting, sharing, things like that. And the engagement rate, again, was really high on our Instagram posts at 5.11%. And post impressions were high at 21,000, and there were 1.5K total post likes, reaching 18,000 Instagram users. And the top 3 shared content posts on Instagram.
Welcome to the Rock.
Freedom
Looks kind of plain.
Well on Facebook. Everyone loved that and the updates on that. And then the third one was highlighting summer activities in Clinton, like swimming lessons, and then again the last post about the city cleanup during the show in August. So you may be wondering how you can help promote the city of Clinton or support our efforts online. So a few ideas that I have listed out here is sharing all of your content and events with the Choose Clinton, Iowa page so we can cross-promote it. You can tag Choose Clinton, Iowa pages in relevant posts, and then I can share them then to each platform. And just simply engaging with the shared content is huge. So each like or reaction, comment or share, it's just gaining the page more brand awareness and exposure. So hopefully we can then gain more likes, and then people can be more informed. And then lastly, you can also share the event, like I said, with Choose Clinton, Iowa, via direct message or tagging Choose Clinton, Iowa in events. You can also add us as a co-host to your event. And when a page is added as a co-host, it automatically appears on their page. So then all of the events will be in like one hub versus across multiple pages. And then if you'd like to, you can invite your friends to like the Choose Clinton, Iowa page, both on the Facebook app or the desktop version as well.
Yeah.
Lastly, if you're not following on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, head out to those pages and give them a follow so you can stay up to date on everything that we're doing.
Jessica, this is Bill Shivers, one of the council members up here. I use this a lot. I share on my Facebook, but I think you missed probably one of most hitted one, or hits, whatever you call it, liked ones of all, is a radio show called City Watch, which I know everybody shares that you put out. My wife and I listen to that show regularly, and thank you for putting that out for us.
Hey, and Jessica, I think it'd be...
Like once a month at least.
Yes. Got to get Kara West to co-host or do a co-host with the City of Clinton page.
Yeah, I think no.
And Jessica, could you reiterate to the council the number of pages we had to have removed during this past 2020? Oh, that'd be 0, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about
negatives. No, I was talking about like Facebook. If somebody was, if none of our posts had to remove, but.
Oh, you're talking.
But like when we had to do some blocking.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Obviously, not everybody loves everything, so there are moments where we can hide content. So whenever people are reacting negatively to things, obviously we don't want that as a representation of the city, so we can go in and hide those comments. Users can still see their own comments, but they're not visible to everyone.
Yeah, we call that, for Christine with her baby there, we call that being poopy, and that we don't allow that. So.
All right. Is there any other questions for Jessica?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Sounds good.
I think we get pretty good traction on the Facebook. So those
I don't know about the gram and the tweet, but
the gram and the tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They call it the gram, don't they?
The gram.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Sean's trying to be cool. It's okay. Any other questions for them?
We look forward to 2021.
No, yeah. Thank you for everything you do on our social media pages. We really do appreciate the quick response of posting everything, and we appreciate the partnership with FOURGE.
Awesome, thank you.
All right. Okay, moving on. Thank you again. Erin is here from the CRDC.
All you get is us, Erin.
It's the perks of going on last.
I have you all to myself, so no, I realize people are on the line, so I appreciate that too. I think we have some board directors that are likely on the line also. But obviously, thank you very much for your time this evening. I will keep it short. I'm surprised you aren't taking your potty breaks. I have to go like every hour in the hour, but that's
not a part of this.
So, all right, fun fact. We talked about military a couple of times, and today is February 9th. So 33 years ago today, I started Army basic training, Fort Jackson, South Carolina, 17 years old. 30 years ago today, I was in Saudi Arabia for Operation Desert Shield, waiting to go into Iraq for Operation Desert Storm about 2 weeks later. So, I feel old these days, but but that's besides the point.
Now, are you going to remember this moment 30 years from now?
Maybe.
You may not.
What I will remember is one of the reasons why we have such a great team in place right now, and we say this a few times over, and it's not joking at all, is that the 4 core people currently involved in economic development in our community are military. And I think that makes a huge difference for us. So, of course, you know, Scott had mentioned earlier, Mayor Scott talked about being in the Air Force. Obviously, Matt Brooke, Army veteran. I'm Army. And then Andy Zikolovich, my Vice President for Economic Development, another Air Force veteran. So the 4 of us together, Mayor Scott and I just had an interview recently with Site Selection Magazine, which I have here. And we've talked even with projects about this recently, that we're all mission focused. Having that military background gives us that sort of like, it doesn't matter sort of your background or politics or anything. What do we need to get done? And let's get it done, you know, together. And that's how we've been operating. And certainly this past year, I think, really shows the results from that. So we have a little PowerPoint. Very good. Lisa, I have something else. Is it possible to hand out something else? Is that okay? This is not part of the presentation, but I think it's important for all of you to see. We'll talk about it on the microphone in a second, but if you want to pass out copies of that, I appreciate it. So again, we'll go through the PowerPoint very quickly because I do want to take questions. I hope that we'll have an opportunity, obviously, to discuss some questions. What Lisa is currently passing out is actually an award nomination for the Clinton Regional Development Corporation, but then really for our whole community for business retention and expansion. And we just found out recently that we're winning this award from the Professional Developers of Iowa, which is a statewide Iowa association for all professional developers, so economic developers. Director Debbie Durham will be giving the award presentation on March 18th. So once we have more information on that, we'll certainly welcome you to participate to the extent possible. Of course, it's going to be virtual. Well, what I think you'll see in there, obviously, is the extent to which the CRDC, which is a nonprofit, relatively small organization, really works on things like business retention and expansion, which is one of 4 major categories that we work in. So in addition to business retention and expansion, we also focus on business attraction, so brand new companies coming in, workforce development for existing employees, and then also workforce attraction, so to bring in more workforce here to fill the jobs that we already have. So we'll talk about that to some extent. So first and foremost, obviously, thank you for your investment, very generous investments. I know that your fiscal year runs differently from ours. We start on January 1st, so we're in calendar year as well as fiscal year 2021. I know that you're going to be starting your fiscal year July 1st. Currently, you're invested at $50,000 a year, which is a large, investment certainly for any of our investors. The largest currently is Clinton County at $80,000 a year. We do have private sector investors, public sector investors. I'll get into that. It's on the very last slide. We can talk about our budget. But in general, I just want to thank you very much for your generous investment in the organization. And what we're going to talk about briefly here is what is your return on that investment? What are you getting for that, certainly in 2020? So ironically enough, what was new and different for all of us in 2020 was COVID-19 and the whole pandemic, which none of us saw coming. We just heard from FOURGE, and they did some fantastic work on getting the word out. But, to Andy Sokolovich's credit, he also created a new webpage for the CRDC and really collected and consolidated and shared a lot of the COVID information with small businesses. The Chamber of Commerce's, both in DeWitt and Clinton, didn't have that information themselves. So once it was created, they partnered with us to get that information out. So I think that really became like a huge benefit for the community. We tracked 1,500 unique visitors to that webpage to this day. Information is still being uploaded. So 1,500 visitors is fairly significant. We also partner with Clinton County Emergency Management to do some rapid response calls. And then we also worked with our federal and state officials to get the word out about the pandemic. So we met with Senator Grassley and also Debbie Durham, director of the Iowa Economic Development Authority. So that just happened to be new and different for 2020. So next slide. So this is what we typically do, I should say. This is what we typically, this is not typical. 2020 was a pretty stellar year for economic development in Clinton. And I always caveat that by saying that because of the pandemic, we, certainly recognize and appreciate the fact and sympathize with the fact that 2020 was, a bad year for many people. Certainly health-wise, the economics of it all were, negatively affected a lot of people, both individually and certainly as a city, as a municipality. And we get all of that. We totally respect that. At the same time, for industrial development, who knew, right? And none of this was luck. We could talk about that. A lot of work went into these things long before we got to 2020. And, there's a process to all of this, which, of course, Mayor Scott knows much better these days. Matt's known for a long time. We always have to talk in sort of secretive terms. Everything's business confidential until it actually happens. And that's typically when it goes public and they get their incentive package. 9 times out of 10, that's when it goes public. So we have to respect that. But sewer equipment, obviously Nestle Purina Pet Care, which is just mentioned a second ago, the Timken Company, which is over on Fulton, Illinois side, but moved for the first time into the Clinton region, Hero BX, and then of course Spiber. So I'm not going to read off all of that. I'm just going to point out a couple of key things that I think are important. So we talk about business attraction and then obviously business retention and expansion. So they're two different things. So sewer equipment was technically a business expansion because they were leasing an existing facility here in Clinton and then decided to build their own facility, bought city-owned land out at the rail park, which was great. Nestle Purina Pet Care, clearly an expansion because they're an existing business. Timken Company, we're actually considering both an expansion because for us, we cover the region. So we do actually cover into Fulton for the CRDC. So for us, it was technically an expansion, but it is also an attraction into the city of Clinton. Brand new company coming in there. Hero BX, an existing business at the rail park, was an expansion. And then Spiber, as we all know, is one of the latest announcements. And that was a brand new company coming into town. So that's obviously considered an attraction. So what does all this mean? $250 million in capital investment in a single year, which blew us out of the water for metrics. And I'll get into that for a second. We do have metrics that we use. And over a 5-year period, we're hoping to get $100 million in for capital investment. Nestle Purina blew that out of the water in a single year at $140 million. So thank you very much to Nestle Purina Pet Care for that. And over 150 jobs, which is huge, and I'll talk about that in just a second as well. The key thing here is money attracts money. Anyone who's been in economic development or works in this business, this is huge for us, not just because of the immediate benefits that it brings to the community, but the public relations aspect. The articles that we're going to get in national and international publications that we couldn't pay for. You know, they're coming to us because we've accomplished these things, and now we're going to get the, you know, the attention for it that's going to bring in other attention. Oh, really? Clinton, Iowa, Spiber's in Clinton, Iowa. Why is Spiber in Clinton? Oh, what's going on there? And that just leads to additional inquiries coming in. We hope, obviously, additional projects. That's on us to work those, but that is how that works ultimately. So what about jobs? Over 150 new jobs. Sounds great, right? Most people would love to hear that. But then what we hear from the companies, the existing companies, and we have to respect that, is, okay, we can't find people as it is. So what about workforce development? How do we train up people who are already here or in our labor shed vicinity to work at our manufacturing facility? So for better or for worse, because of COVID, we actually took that as an initiative to start a new workforce development program called Manufacturing Awareness. We partnered directly with Clinton Community College. It now became a model, and it's spread out to the rest of the Eastern Iowa community colleges. So it started here in Clinton, and it's since spread out. The idea is that there were people being displaced from their jobs in retail and restaurants, hair salons, whatever the case, especially when places were fully shut down for a while. And this Manufacturing Awareness program is fully online and fully free to students. So it's encouraging people to literally take this online program, learn about manufacturing, and then eventually get a job. So of course, we're working with the companies to feed a pipeline of people through this Manufacturing Awareness program. So you can see some of the numbers that are in here. Already we have 54 students enrolled, $7,500 secured in corporate sponsorships. The CRDC gave $2,500 in cash as a sponsorship. That keeps the price free to students. So that's critically important for them. We also continue, despite COVID, to do career awareness with the school systems. So now, most recently, we've reached down into the middle schools. We've been working with the high schools for quite some time, trying to educate local students on what jobs are available, and not just in manufacturing. It's also in the medical sector, in the banks, administrative type jobs, just to literally educate them about what is taking place. Now, luckily with Zoom and MS Teams, we've still been able to continue that. We're reaching fewer people because of the pandemic, but we haven't stopped that. And so we are very cognizant of the fact that when you attract new businesses or existing businesses expand, you need to have the people coming in to fill those jobs. So we're working on that for sure. That's going to continue obviously into 2021. So workforce attraction is literally the art, I will say, of literally bringing new people into your community, which is no small thing. We all know that. We're not the only community that loses population on occasion, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if they're already aging out and they're not in the workforce. It's not the worst thing. But how do we bring new people in? So I'm going to thank the city again for their participation in the Home Base Iowa program, which is huge. And I'm going to acknowledge Tom Detterman here, one of our Clinton County supervisors. Home Base Iowa, as you all know, is a state program, state-level program, but Clinton County and the city of Clinton and other cities, Comanche and DeWitt, have added some additional benefits to make it really attractive to live in Clinton County. Well, who markets that to people? Who's going to know that that even exists? The CRDC does that. We're the ones who market it. It's technically a county program, but with the county's investment and your investment and other people's investment in us, we're the ones who spend the money to do the marketing to let people know that this actually exists. And we've been very successful in that. Now, 2020, people weren't moving as much, but we still managed to bring 14 new veterans in. In 2019, we brought in over 30 veterans into Clinton County. So just in the last couple of years, I've been here 2.5 years, in 2018 is when we started marketing the program. We have more than quadrupled the number of veterans that have come into Clinton County. And the vast majority of them, you'll see that statistic, 94% of the veterans who moved into Clinton County moved into the city of Clinton. And the dog license, too.
The dog license.
And as one of those people, as one of those veterans that has moved into the city of Clinton and participated in this program, it's fantastic. And so, again, we're going to continue to market this out. It does cost money. We have to put ads in magazines. We have to travel, hopefully, again, to do Hiring Our Heroes events. We'll keep going back up to Thompson Prison. A lot of the people who came in were corrections officers, but many others are out there. So it's really on the CRDC to continue marketing that program and bringing more people into our community. Now, that's only the veterans. That doesn't talk about spouses or adult children or others that might be with them in their household who are new residents now in Clinton County, and we're also trying to find ways to reach them. So the veteran probably moved here for a job. That was the case for most of us, for Matt, for me, for Andy Sokolovich, for a lot of other people. What about their spouse? Who's helping them find a job? Who's helping their children find a job if they have adult children? So we're working through that process now too. But attracting more people into our community to fill these awesome jobs that we have available does take time, money, and commitment. And so that's where a lot of your investment certainly goes. The other thing I'm going to thank you for clearly, and this goes for Clinton County, is the student loan assistance, the student loan payback program. I think most of you know that this is unique in the United States, that as a municipality, as a county, as far as we know, this is the only program that exists at the county or municipal level. So that's huge, not just in Iowa, but across the United States. And as a result of that, you'll see, I'm not going to read these off, you'll see the statistics yourselves, that this has been a very successful program already, just launched in 2019. So 2020, again, was their first full year of implementation. Again, not a great year for people moving and changing jobs, but nonetheless, even as a result of that, this came about. And again, the CRDC is responsible for marketing this program. We do ads and we pay for digital marketing and we get the word out in other ways. So this takes up a decent chunk of our cash. All right, so last but not least, so what about the cash? Again, we're a nonprofit organization, been around since 1953, just celebrated our 67th anniversary in this community. Just had one of the best years, ironically, for industrial development that we've seen in quite some time. But our membership investment is down. As most of you know, we had launched our new Future Focus 2024 5-year economic development plan, which also went with a fundraising campaign. So many of you were interviewed during that process in 2019, and then we started our first full year of that in January 2020. So now we're already into year 2 of our new 5-year plan. Our goal was to reach $500,000 per year. We had done that in the past. So that was actually keeping on par with what we had done under Vision 2020, which was the previous 5-year plan. So you can see where we are right now, $433,079. That includes in-kind donations as well, so not just cash. On the plus side, we have farm lease revenue. As you know, we own land also out at the Rail Park, co-owners with the City of Clinton. And so we get that farm revenue still coming in. We did manage to sell land, CRDC owned land, to Hero BX for a planned expansion. We sold the land in 2020, and so we netted out $129,495. The key thing I'm going to focus on there, because it benefits all of us, is when I negotiated that sale price, they bought it at $40,909 per acre. That's huge for all of us, for both of us as landowners, because now we have additional precedent, more recent precedent, to say, no, we're not going to sell it at $20,000 an acre. We just sold it for $40,909 per acre. So let's bring that up. So the other thing that we did too, new for 2020, we've never done that out the rail park, is we had options. So option agreements are basically a company saying, we want to purchase the land at some point in the future, but for whatever reason, we can't do it right now. Can we hold the land, and we'll pay you to hold the land for us? And then we sign an option agreement. So the CRDC signed 2 option agreements, one with Project MG. We've been working with them for literally about 1.5 years now. It's still moving along. And they were paying us a certain amount per month. So for all of 2020, we received $14,000 from them. And then from Project Circuit, which is also moving along still, they optioned 10 acres of land out at the rail park. They pay us $1,000 a month. We signed that March 31st of last year, so we received $9,000 in those option payments. Generally speaking, the agreement is that when they purchase the land, that money will be rebated back to them. So once they purchase the land, they'll get that money back. But in the meanwhile, you know, it's income for us to do our activities. It certainly helps to offset the membership investment to some extent. It also shows good faith on their part that they're serious about not just holding the land, but literally paying us for it. We've had this conversation before, you know, where does our funding come from? A solid 2/3 does indeed come from the private sector, and then roughly 1/3 comes from the public sector. And again, the two major investors there obviously being Clinton County and the city of Clinton. For 2020, as you can imagine, we underspent significantly on salary and travel due to COVID-19. For 7 months out of the year, we were a 2-person operation. We lost our office coordinator to another job in February of 2020. We didn't rehire until September of 2020. So we saved some money there, and obviously with travel restrictions, nobody was going to business attraction events. We usually do those with the state of Iowa, so it's actually a loss for us not to do those. Some of them are still planned for this year, but they're going to be virtual. We'll see how that goes. And then some of the other events with site selectors, and that's really our key audience, is trying to meet with site selectors. Some of those are planned for in-person. I'm planning to go to one in June of 2021, fingers crossed. So we'll see how that goes. So again, in conclusion, I want to thank you very much for your investment. I want you to know that you are literally getting results from this, you know, the entire community. New people moving in, they're buying houses, property taxes, capital investments, goodwill among the companies because they're getting workforce development out of this and new activities that nobody else is working on besides us. So we're very proud of that, very proud of the relationship that we built over this past year. Of course, Mayor Scott comes in, you know, doesn't know anything about economic development on day one, but, you know, we certainly fixed that.
I still don't know much. No.
We fixed that pretty quickly. And I just want to mention again, so Mayor Scott and I had an interview the other day with Site Selection Magazine because we're going to be recognized as the #1 community, the #1 city for the entire Mississippi Valley corridor for industrial projects in 2020.
Great.
For the first time ever.
Great.
So again, this attracts international attention to Clinton. Clinton, Iowa is #1 for the, really? What's going on in Clinton, Iowa? So, I mean, this is huge for us, and it didn't come easy, you know, and we spent a lot of time and effort, and the city has hosted us multiple times. We're very grateful for your IT over here, very, very grateful for your partnership. You know, there aren't always wins. You know, we lost a project recently that was, you know, disappointing for all of us, Project Peony, a large-scale project that was looking for 250 contiguous acres out at the rail park. We blew that out of the water. There aren't many industrial parks that can offer 250 contiguous acres. We gave them 3 options to do that, 3 different options for layout for 250 acres. We did that because the CRDC took on the responsibility to option privately owned land that's in the vicinity of the rail park, and we worked very closely with the city to map it all out, get the drone video footage and the whole works, which we'll still use. It was a great investment because we still obviously can use that. The project itself decided not to go with Clinton. We just found out in early January, and that was because the price of their feedstock. Something we literally could do nothing about. It was a difference of $15 million per year between us and the other locations simply because of the feedstock, which was corn. And that shot us out of the water. There's nothing we could do about it. But the process was fantastic. We did a fantastic job. We showed them our community. We worked with site selectors, and we're still in touch with those site selectors. So they know who we are now. We put Clinton on the map for them. So the next time they have a project, they're going to be like, hey, what about Clinton? Remember, we were there. Those people were awesome. Got high compliments from them. They've been here physically. I think it was our only in-person site visit for the year. We did some virtual site visits, but they came in person. It was very serious.
I let them sit in my chair.
So again, the project, again, we don't win them all.
I should.
We won 5 of them in 2020, which is significant, but we don't win them all, admittedly. But nonetheless, I think going through that process and developing the relationship as part of the process, I think was invaluable. So, you know, I thought we had a fantastic year for industrial development. Looking forward to continuing that to the best of our ability, obviously in 2021. and really require, investment to make that happen as a nonprofit organization. We are down on the private side. As you can imagine, a lot of the businesses are struggling. You are struggling. I respect that. But we are asking if you could consider going back up to the $80,000 per year amount that you were previously. And for that, I can promise you that we will continue to provide that return on your investment. We need your funding to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any discussion on this? I will throw it out there that I had no clue about economic development coming in last year. And it has been pretty awesome working with Erin and Andy. We have bi-weekly meetings with them and Matt, and then usually Paula and Stewart and Steve Clements is on there too. So we do work closely with them. It's a very good working relationship, and I just figured I should at least put that out there because it's been a good time, and I've learned a lot, and I think obviously an investment in the CRDC is a good thing. So
appreciate that.
Okay.
Please, questions.
Okay.
I know it's
Any
late.
questions for
Please.
Erin?
This is so important for our community. I mean, literally, it's so important for the community. Please ask some questions.
You talk about training in schools, middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned Clinton. Do you do all the other schools in the county as well?
So,
Sorry
yeah,
about that.
so for the Clinton Regional Development Corporation, so we cover, as you may know, we don't cover all of Clinton County. So we cover Clinton, Comanche, and Lowmore, and then we cross the Mississippi and we cover Fulton, Albany, and Thompson, although that's spreading now. We're actually spreading out more. So DeWitt, the DeWitt Chamber and Development Company, obviously covers DeWitt, and then they provide some services to some of the smaller, more like rural communities, but we don't cover all of Clinton County. Yeah. But again, the vast majority of the projects that you saw on this slide here, actually every single one of those projects is in the city of Clinton.
Yep.
So all the capital investment, all the jobs, all the new people coming in, the veterans moving in, 94% of the veterans moving in are moving into the city of Clinton. So that's significant.
Any other questions for Erin?
I may have missed this part, but what do you do to retrain people as far as other than high schoolers and stuff, adults?
Right. So this is a very good question. So, and it leads into the Career and Technical Education Center, the CTE Center. So currently, Clinton Community College obviously offers classes that any adults, whether they just graduated from high school and they're looking for training initially, or it's retraining of people who are trying to get a new job. Obviously, Clinton Community College does an awesome job. If they can't get the classes at Clinton Community College, obviously they can go within Eastern Iowa community colleges. They might have to go down to Scott County or elsewhere to do that. What we all want, I think, collectively, and we're certainly, the CRDC is fully behind the idea of creating the Clinton County Career and Technical Education Center, the CTE Center, so that we could have more of those classes right here in Clinton County so people don't have to go down to Scott County. Not that that's a bad thing, but if we could keep them here and get internships and apprenticeships for them here, then the idea is they're going to stay here. Once they finish their training, they're going to stay here and get a job here. What happens in a lot of cases is people will go down to Scott County for training and then a company down there picks them up. Well, good for them, but we lose out. So we obviously want to have the CTE Center in Clinton County. The CRDC is fully behind that. We're working with the manufacturing companies in particular, but Mercy One's fully on board. The training that they would offer at the CTE Center is pretty wide, culinary, arts, medical, health related, obviously manufacturing. And so we're working with our investor base to get behind that, make sure the vote passes on March 2nd, because we want to do more retraining and training right here in Clinton County.
And Erin, I believe that there will be no change in the amount of money collected because they're paying off the loan that they've
That's
already
correct. There'll be no tax,
Right.
no tax
And I'd
difference
also
in that.
like to plug the scholarships at Clinton Community College. There's
Very
a
good.
lot of scholarships available, and all they have to do is apply. A lot of times, everybody that's applying gets something.
Right, exactly. So part of what we do on the career awareness, certainly for the high school students, is to, again, make them aware of what jobs exist, but then to your point, Julie, is to also make them aware of like scholarship programs if they do want to go to the community college, the manufacturing awareness program, which is free to them. They can join that program right after graduating from high school, or even while they're still in it if they would like to. We're just trying to educate them on what our community has to offer, and then what resources are available to make it happen for them, especially if they're, need some financial assistance.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Erin, how many local companies do you have with an apprenticeship program for high schoolers?
So currently, there's a single registered apprenticeship program in Clinton County. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the only one. So just in 2019, Clinton High School took on a registered apprenticeship program for welding. So it's a federal level Department of Labor actual registered apprenticeship program. So that just kicked off in 2019, which means the students couldn't really start until this school year.
Okay.
And so we have a single student currently from Clinton High School that is in the actual apprenticeship. So there are other kids taking the welding classes. Mm-hmm. The key thing with an apprenticeship is you need to have a company that's going to take the student on to work with them, because the whole point of it is work study.
Right.
So JT Cullen, an Illinois-based company, is the one that took the existing Clinton High School students.
And I think they've been doing it for years. But how much are you guys working with other companies to do that? Because
yes,
I really think that will keep a lot of high school kids
I agree.
here.
I agree. And we're actually looking to expand it out past welding. So we had done a lot of research, outreach and surveys and in-person meetings with companies long before the pandemic to understand that welding was a key priority. So that was why the welding program was the first program. Sure. Again, the key thing is you must have a company that's going to take the student, because the student must have that paid work hands-on experience. Ironically, in 2020, just as the program was gearing up, in that school year, the pandemic hit. So ironically enough, a lot of the companies, as you can imagine, have been shy to let strangers in, like outsiders in. So that has been our key barrier for 2020. We believe that's going to go away in 2021. But again, to reemphasize the fact that students are taking the welding classes. It's more just a matter of getting to a point where the companies are willing to take them in and actually get the hands-on practice at that point.
We are working towards that.
Yes, we are working towards that, and we're working with the schools to create additional registered apprenticeship programs at the federal level. Okay. So if you'll remember, Governor Kim Reynolds came here to Clinton in August of 2019 to celebrate the fact that we had just launched that registered apprenticeship program. Right. That was a big deal. At the time, we were only the 12th high school in all of Iowa that had a registered apprenticeship program. So that was a big deal for us.
Some guy from Notre Dame.
Mike Johnson has his hand up.
I saw Steve Clements on my screen. I thought maybe he was next, but I just want to say there's some advantage to attending these meetings at home, from home. I mean, you guys might have missed happy hour. I didn't.
We missed dinner.
Amen to that.
And
before tonight, I thought hunting was something to do with finding construction projects. At this meeting. But I just wanted to support Erin and Andy and the CRDC. I can't tell you what a great job Erin and Andy did for many months here without additional support, until we brought Stacy on board also. And we've got a dedicated board, and we've got great investors. And I just wanted to encourage you. Well, first, to Matt, Notre Dame did beat Duke today, just in case and it really doesn't matter. He's off of this tournament. I do want to thank the city for their longtime support of the CRDC, and encourage you to actually strongly consider increasing your funding, your investment level to where you were previously. I think the CRDC does great work. My company almost doubled our investment this year, so I'm a big believer, and would appreciate your help with our efforts. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Any other questions from council?
I think we should have to hear from the outgoing president and CEO of CRDC, board, and then the incoming one as well.
We're chairs, not the CEO president. We don't want that. So no, I agree on the partnership with the city. I think our meetings have been great. I truly appreciate the relationship that we built with Matt and Mayor Scott throughout the process of the last year, and turning it, over to Paula, who's very much involved with economic development. I was a lot like Scott. I knew economic development from a much smaller level, and Paula's going to come in and do a much better job because she knows a lot more statewide stuff, which is just going to benefit CRDC and the city. So, again, thanks for the time that I spend as chair. I'll be past chair now. I have plenty of time to continue to meet and work on initiatives, and we look forward to it and appreciate the relationship we built with the city.
Obviously, I work from home. For the board today, because I didn't think I was going to have to put on my camera. I will tell you right now that Alliance success totally depends on CRDC. And that's why we invest so much into that, into their organization, because if they don't succeed, we don't succeed. We all want the economies or the communities to grow. And I've said it more than one time. My heart's in Clinton. I wish I could live there, but by divorce decree, I can stay in Mildred.
This is a public meeting, Paula.
And everywhere else.
I just want to take a second, obviously, to thank all of our board, and that includes Mayor Scott and sort of Matt. Matt participates in a lot of our board meetings as well. Of course, Tom Detterman is on our board of directors. I want to specifically say thank you to Mike Johnson, who's been chairing our investor relations and fundraising campaign for the past year and a half now. That's been critically important. So all of the investment that we have brought in, even in these trying times, Mike's been leading us in that charge. So definitely appreciate Mike Johnson, who was our past chair before Steve took over. I think you all know Mike. So again, we respect the fact that economically 2020 was a really tough year. I know you're going to feel the pinch for that for a while, but as Paula just stated, if the CRDC wins, we're winning for all of us. I mean, we're winning for all of us. We're winning for the whole community. And yes, that includes Comanche and Fulton to some extent and these other places. But when you look at those projects and you look at the industrial park and you look where we have land and the base of the population, it is the city of Clinton. You are going to win the most pretty much at any point in time. And that's a good thing for all of us. We have some great projects that we're still working for the rail park. We do believe at least one of them is going to purchase land in 2021. I mean, we have some huge successes still on the horizon. But we need your investment. I mean, we're a nonprofit organization. If we don't have your funding, we can't do these things. We can't pay for the marketing. We can't pay for the professional development. We can't pay for workforce development. We can't pay for travel to go with the state of Iowa to these business attraction events. We don't have any money to do that. We desperately need your investment. We desperately need all the investment. We're extremely grateful to all of our investors, needless to say. If they give us $200 a year, it's fabulous because we're putting it to good use. And we're going to get return on this investment collectively. And we really appreciate, again, all of your help. And again, if you could think about doing the $80,000, we certainly appreciate that. And I guarantee, again, you'll get that return on your investment for the entire city. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Erin.
So in our budget discussion earlier, the council voted to increase our investment from $50,000 to $60,000 with the plan in mind to stair step that up to get us back to the 80 as long as things continue to progress as we're looking at our budget. So they voted yes unanimously this afternoon.
Feels like this morning.
Feels like this morning to increase that to 60,000. So.
And would anybody change their mind to go further up now?
They could.
No, I mean, that's a fair question. Like,
Sure.
literally, would anybody seriously consider going higher than that? Going back to the 80,000?
Tom raised his hand. They're going to 100.
I think it's certainly. I think it's a valid question, but
I didn't know that you took a vote already today. I wasn't aware of that.
Well, it was in our budget meeting, so it was.
Yeah,
kind of
we had to finalize the general fund, which you're part of.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a valid question, but we're trying to grow some fund balance right now, and that's something that's a council priority, obviously, because that's something we haven't been able to do for 5 years at least. So
Yes.
I don't know. I guess that would be the council's privy, but.
What did we have for excess fund balance?
Oh boy.
Like 80,000 on top of the
93, I think it was.
83 with the 10 guns. 83, yep.
Projected, yes.
Projected.
Let's see if I can find it.
Do I hear 70 going on?
I just got here, so.
Oh, now you're playing dumb.
These guys have gone through a lot more work. So
Some of our viewers say you never left.
Oh my gosh.
I'll let these guys make the decision.
I don't know when, I mean, we have a potential to find out some of these numbers coming in may change slightly, right, Matt? I mean, it's
always an estimate.
Right. Yeah.
We obviously had an increase in valuation that helped us out a little bit this year. We haven't recovered fully from the last fiscal year yet, but yes, we do have some positive increases in our valuation in our budget, and we should see more of that as more things come online down the next few years. So.
Right. I would certainly also mention the fact that, the CRDC does own land, obviously, out at the rail park. I mean, it's certainly our intention that when we do sell land, and we hope that that's going to be the near future, that would give us a pot of money, that we could obviously draw from, not just for operating costs and whatnot, but literally to be able to help the city of Clinton when it comes to things like incentives. So we respect the fact that when a project comes along and somebody needs to do a 20% match to the state's incentive, it doesn't actually have to be the city, nor does it have to be in cash. So we want to get to a point where either we can help with the cash or at least get creative in how else we can make up the 20% match that the city would generally be responsible for to the state incentive. So we do understand that. We're obviously partners in that regard. And again, as soon as we sell some land, we won't be having this discussion. But we haven't yet. We're working on it. But if you could make it up to 70 even, that would just be a huge difference for us. And we have some great things on plan for 2021. We do expect to travel more. IEDA is starting to gear up a little bit more of the business attraction events and things like that. They do cost money. We're still down by one staff person. When I first joined, we had 4 staff people. We've been at 3 or 2 for the vast majority of the time that I've been here. We're not looking to grow staff at this point in time. We're just trying to do as much activity as we possibly can, but it all costs money.
And the good news is you can use these 2 for staff if you need them.
Yeah.
Ouch. Wow.
They work pretty close already. How is the
Microphone.
census going to affect? Does that affect the general
About the general fund, the road use tax fund will be affected.
Oh, okay.
Well, and
Thank you, Josh.
And just the fact we have less people, so local option sales tax, because we rely on the region for the local option sales tax, which actually was pretty darn tootin' good this year too.
Considering?
Based on the fact that they now tax Amazon.
I guess my point is that
we're getting the revenue?
A little bit.
At this time, I think we have a lot of unknown variables, and so I'm almost afraid to go past the 60 that we've committed to at this point. So.
I will say that Councilmember Schemmer's had a good memory because, like I said, we said last year had a compromise to get back to that, and we said we would stair step it. So we did hold up that end of the agreement that we would stair step it back. Because last year we didn't know where we were going to be with this past year. So.
Right.
Well, just one little thing, we're looking at, we're in February now. We have a long way to get to July 1st. I'm good where we're at now, but I'd like to maybe take another look at it once we get closer. Just to see exactly where, because we're all kind of hesitant to, make significant changes right now because there's a lot of unknowns, but doesn't mean that we couldn't do another stair step in, 5 months or 6 months.
Because it is feasible to bring things back to the council for amendments. So that would be what Councilman Overton saying is basically would be an amendment to look at
where we're sitting with the cash flow.
Okay.
To say if that's going to be feasible to step it up again.
Okay.
At that time, we should probably have census count.
I
We
would
should,
hope-
hopefully by that time.
Right.
So, part of this discussion, and I think that bringing it back is a good idea, but the budget, we're looking at lowering our levy 3 cents.
Right.
So, I mean, there is a little, maybe potentially some wiggle room there, but we are trying to do, the best by the taxpayers of lowering that levy.
The lowering it's from the transit
Correct.
levy though, which
But-
is not general fund.
Right, but I mean, all of that goes in to feed that, and I think we're trying to do as best as we can there, and it is a small chunk, but I think we're trying to be pretty fiscal about what we're doing. So I think bringing it back would be a fine idea as we gear up towards say that May timeframe.
I guess at that point, it gives us time to have those discussions that we talked about as far as the capital improvements, future of how, all
Planning
those,
session.
the big projects.
Time and space might be good.
So
Oh, that sounds familiar.
You learn quickly. Only
He's
been
back.
here for 4 hours. Yeah.
I did.
Okay. So I think staying at the 60 at the moment and bring it back up down the road here in a few months and look at that.
Hearty thank you.
Yes.
For all that you guys do, and we know we're rowing in the same direction because we're in the same boat.
Yep.
I think nothing will change in that regard. I know on purpose. I didn't want this public to be said. A hearty thank you for, Jody, who's at home still watching. I don't know if anybody else is, but my wife is.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Paula.
Thanks, everyone.
And your puppy, Paula. Oh, my microphone's on. That's right. You hear me?
Okay, final item.
This one's going to take like 3 hours.
Mr. City Administrator. I'm going to pack up.
All right, so. Microphone on, Josh. You all good with your headphones? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 7:27. We're still live at the City Hall to discuss disposition of 319, 320 North 4th Street. And if I could orient you, basically it's right across from the New Hope Church to the south and right across from Hook's Pub to the west.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's that little parcel there. And so basically, James Hook, owner of the Hook's Pub and Grill, has submitted an offer for $5,500 to purchase that across there, and he turned it into a parking lot. And we took a look, and believe it or not, the old Google Maps still has where the curb cut was filled in with the curb.
Oh, really?
So we'll probably put it right in line with where New Hope has a driveway in there, put that right in line there. So we would bring it to the council to see if the council would forward a resolution to the next council meeting and intent to accept
it.
this Mr. Hook's offer and set public hearing of the matter.
How big a lot?
Oh, you got me. Hold on a sec. 0.88, is it? No, that's a depth. Sorry, hold on.
8,700.
Yep, 8,700 square foot. Yep,
Cool.
Oh, it's
You
all
know
one
it's that
parcel.
empty.
right here. Yep.
Yeah.
And you can't. Well, that's across. I think that's what used to be there. I've never was here.
That's the old Warrens.
And it
yeah.
burned.
That's the old Warrens.
Warrens. And then right over here is where we'll talk with James about making the entrance because it's off of 4th.
Yep.
And 4th would be in there to come in there and he'll set it up. He plans to asphalt it, stripe it with proper parking symbols and everything else as well.
He needs some parking there.
Yeah.
He just parked. Yeah,
Yep.
he expanded to the south.
Yep.
Good for him.
Cool.
Yeah, he tore
As
down
long as I
that
can
old
have a
building.
plaque there for me
The
and my
Heinz
wife, that's
Bakery.
where we met, so.
Which one? The Hooks or the cross?
No, it
Right,
was.
which should
Oh,
be.
Yeah.
Okay.
right here?
Yep,
Left or right?
right.
Right
You
here.
go on the far side and then you go in.
Oh, gotcha.
All right.
Make a motion to do same.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
They probably had it to somebody else.
Can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Allison.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Donald.
Yes.
Schummers.
Yes.
Oberon.
Yes.
Mussman.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes. All right. Mayor and council updates. Councilmember Allison.
None.
Nada. Councilmember Seeley.
I'm happy to be here with everybody. Thank you. I've heard a few remarks.
Councilmember Connell.
That's all I got. Thank you, sir.
Shammers.
Nothing.
Councilmember Oberon.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Mussman.
Nothing, Your Honor.
I would only say one thing. I know the governor raised the restrictions, and I'm grateful for that, but if a business requires a mask, put it on.
Absolutely. Private business can still require that. All right, the only thing I have is get on the City of Clinton YouTube channel and check out the Mayor's Spotlight.
And that sweet jingle.
I had to get my own show since Shemmers has his, so I figured I'd rival it. But no, we're just heading out to local businesses to spotlight kind of what they have going on, and we just released Homer's Deli and Sweetheart Bakery. We got Chamber, CRDC, and CVB, and Millennia Taekwondo on deck. So watch the Millennia one; it's pretty good.
Hey, Dave's left the meeting so we can talk now.
All right. Anything else? We are.